Tonight, I want to teach you what actually happens when someone stops valuing you. And I have to begin with the part nobody tells you, because it is the part that decides everything. When their warmth thinned, when the regard you could once rest inside began to quietly withdraw, two things happened, not one. The first was theirs. Their attention shifted, their estimate of you dimmed for reasons that were mostly about them, and that first thing was never in your control, not for 1 minute. But then a second thing happened, later, in private, in a bed like this one. You agreed. Quietly, without ever putting it into words, you began to value yourself a little less, to match. You co-signed a verdict you did not write. And that second thing, the co-signing, is the entire wound. It is where all the actual damage lives. It is also, and this is what tonight is for, the one part that was always yours to refuse. I know how it went, because it almost always goes the same way. There was no incident. That is what makes it so hard to hold. Nobody betrayed you. Nobody slammed a door. The replies just got shorter. They stopped asking you questions. Have you noticed that is one of the first things to go? The questions. The plans stopped forming. The eyes started sliding past you towards something else, a screen, a thought, a person who is not you. And because there is no incident, there is nothing to grieve properly and nothing to confront, just a slow cooling you cannot prove, and a voice at 2 a.m. running the audit. What did I do? When exactly did it change? What do they see now that they did not see before? Or, the worst question, the one underneath, what did they finally see? Tonight, while you lie here with no audience to win back and nothing to perform, I want to walk you through the real psychology of this, because it has one, old and well mapped. The ancients studied this exact wound harder than almost any other, the Stoics especially, because they understood that no pain reaches deeper than the pain of another person's changed regard, and none is more misunderstood. Before this night is over, you will know why their valuing felt like the measure of you, why its withdrawal set off an audit that has no bottom, why the fading usually means something completely different than what you have been telling yourself, and how a person learns gently, at their own pace, to stop co-signing. The short version, the one you can fall asleep holding, is this: their estimate of you was weather. Your worth was never the weather. You have been standing outside checking the sky and calling it a mirror. There is nothing to do with any of this tonight. No conversation to draft, no decision to make, nothing to fix by morning. Understanding does its own work, and it works best in exactly the state you are drifting toward. So let your body be heavy. Let the day close. And if you are new here and this slow kind of explanation feels like something you have needed, you are welcome to stay. Subscribing is the quiet way of saying so, but everything can wait. Everything keeps. Let us begin with the fading itself, slowly and honestly, because it deserves to be named in full, and because you have been carrying it alone. The cruelest property of this particular loss is that it happens in plain sight and stays invisible. If they had left, the world would have a category for your pain. There would be words for it, casseroles for it, songs. But they did not leave. They are still at the table, still in the group chat, still beside you in the bed or the meeting or the family photo, and everything looks the same from 3 feet away. Only you can feel the difference, because only you knew the original temperature. You remember when your name in their mouth had a different weight. You remember when your news was received like news, when your jokes landed in their whole face, and not just their mouth, when they reached for you, for your opinion, your company, your eyes, first and not fifth. Nobody else can see what is missing, because what is missing is invisible to everyone who was not warmed by it. And so you carry a grief with no funeral for a person who is still alive, still present, still technically yours. There is hardly a lonelier carrying than that. When did you first notice it? Can you place the season? Most people can. Not the day, the season. And do you remember what you did with the noticing? You told yourself it was nothing. You told yourself you were imagining it, being sensitive, keeping score. You gaslit your own perception for months, did you not? Because the alternative was too heavy to hold on a weeknight. Here is a small restitution then before anything else tonight. Your perception was fine. The instrument that noticed the cooling is a good instrument. You were not imagining it, and you were not petty for feeling it. And the relief you feel at hearing that right now is the relief of a witness finally believed. Whatever else tonight teaches, keep that part. You saw what you saw. The error was never in the seeing. It was only ever in what you decided the seeing meant about you. And it wears a different face in every room of a life, so let us name a few, because you may be carrying more than one. In a marriage, it is the conversation that became logistics. Whole evenings of who is collecting whom and what needs paying, with the other conversation, the real one, the one you married for, quietly discontinued like a route nobody rides anymore. It is being looked at while not being seen, reaching for them in small ways and feeling the reach land on someone whose mind has already left the room. In an old friendship, it is becoming the one who always texts first, and then the experiment of not texting first, and the silence that follows, stretching out week after week, answering the question you were afraid to ask. It is hearing about the dinner afterward from someone else, smiling through it. At work, it is watching your ideas float past unclaimed until they come back later in someone else's mouth, wearing applause. It is training the person who gets the room you used to get. With grown children, it is calls that became holidays, and holidays that became logistics too, and the particular ache of being loved, surely, somewhere in the abstract, by someone who no longer thinks to bring you their life. And with an aging parent or an old love grown quiet, it is sometimes simply time and tiredness doing what they do. Warmth banking down like a stove at night, nobody at fault. The cooling real, all the same. Different rooms, same weather. If more than one of these found you just now, that is not evidence of what the audit says it is. It is evidence that you are a person who appoints mirrors generously, who hands people real office in your inner life. The generous appointers always feel the dimmings most. It is the tax on a wide open door, and it is a better tax to pay than the one paid by people who admit no one at all. And you have become a scientist of them, have you not? That is what the starving heart does. It starts measuring. You know the exact latency of their replies now, the old one and the new one. You have read the last message thread, the way scholars read old scripture, weighing every word choice, comparing this month's punctuation against last year's. You notice who they light up for, and you hate that you notice, and you notice anyway. You run experiments you would never admit to, saying less to see if they ask, waiting longer to see if they reach, dropping small flares of need into conversation to see what comes back. And the data always comes in the same, and you always run one more trial anyway, because somewhere in you the case is still open, the beautiful, exhausting case that maybe you are wrong, maybe it is a season, maybe tomorrow their eyes will come back. Hope is doing forensic work at 2 a.m. That is what this stretch of your life has actually been. Nobody hands out medals for it. It is some of the hardest unpaid labor there is. And what has the measuring cost you? Have you counted that yet? Count it now, briefly, without flinching. What did you not notice this year while you were watching them? Whose warmth went unreceived because your eyes were on the one window? What work of yours, what joy of yours? What ordinary golden afternoons got spent as fuel for the surveillance? And the names. What have you been calling yourself in the private dark, in the space where the verdicts live? Too much, not enough. Old news, background, easy to leave, hard to love. Say them once and hear them for what they are. Not findings, names. Names you would never let anyone call a person you love. Names you have been answering to for months. A cooling season takes what it takes. That was never in your control. But the names were an extra tax, collected nightly by you, from you. Tonight, the collection stops. Not because the ache is gone, because the names were never yours, and you are done answering to them. And this age has made the laboratory crueler than it has ever been, because the instruments never stop reporting now. There was a time when a cooling could only be felt in person, in rooms, at actual distances. Now it broadcasts. You can watch them being alive and warm somewhere else in real time, laughing in a photo taken an hour after they left your message, sitting there, seen. You know they are holding the same small machine you are holding. You know the reply would cost them 30 seconds. And so every silence now comes with evidence attached. Timestamps, activity, the little lights that say online, an entire forensic file updated hourly, free of charge, for the wound to read. No generation of humans before yours had to fall asleep while holding a live feed of someone's attention going elsewhere. It is worth saying plainly, this hurts more than it used to, structurally, technologically, And none of that extra hurt is evidence about you either. The instruments measure activity, not regard, and they were built to be checked compulsively by engineers who profit from the checking. Part of tonight's practice, the smallest physical part, may simply be this: the phone, face down, farther away, not as discipline, as mercy. You would not sleep with a courtroom on your nightstand. Then comes the audit, the inward turn, and here the real trouble starts. Because a mind that cannot explain a cooling reaches, always, for the nearest available cause, and the nearest available cause is always you. What did I do? What did I stop being? Have I gotten duller, heavier, older, needier, too much, not enough? You inventory yourself like a store after a robbery, trying to find what went missing that they used to come for, and notice gently what the audit assumes, because we will spend much of tonight dismantling it. It assumes their valuing was a reading of you, an accurate instrument, so that if the reading dropped, something in you must have dropped. That assumption feels like humility. It is actually the cosign arriving in disguise. The moment you audit yourself for their coolness, you have accepted that their warmth was the measure of your worth, and that, not their distance, is the moment the harm begins. And notice that the audit never closes. Have you noticed that? Real audits end. A finding is issued, the books are stamped, everyone goes home. This one has run for months and produced nothing but its own continuation, because it is not actually an investigation. It is a ritual. It cannot close for a reason that is almost mathematical. It is searching your inventory for the cause of something that is not in your inventory. The cause is in their weather, which your audit has no access to, so the search returns empty every night, and an empty return to a frightened mind never means the cause is elsewhere. It means look again. So you look again. Deeper draws, older years, harsher light. The audit that finds nothing does not conclude innocence. It concludes insufficient searching, and that is the trapdoor at the bottom of every 2 a.m, the search that treats its own failure as evidence it must continue. Tonight, you finally have the missing fact that closes it. The reason the audit keeps finding nothing wrong with you is the oldest reason in the world. There is nothing wrong with you to find. The file was always going to come back clean. It has come back clean every single night. You just never once let the clean result stand. So the chase begins in one of its costumes. There is the performer, who becomes shinier, funnier, more useful, more agreeable, auditioning daily for a role they already had or thought they had. There is the overgiver, who starts paying tribute, favors, gifts, endless accommodation, as if regard were a bill that had gone unpaid. There is the detective, who mostly lives at night, deep in the archives, building the timeline. There is the shrinker, who concludes the problem was taking up too much room and quietly begins to need less. Say less, be less. An entire person folding themselves smaller in the doorway of someone's fading attention. And there is the ghost of pride who says nothing, asks for nothing, performs nothing, and simply waits, with a stone in their chest, for the other person to notice the silence. The ghost deserves one extra word, because the ghost believes it has escaped the chase, and it has not. Withholding is still a transaction. The ghost is running the same experiment as the performer, just inverted, betting that absence will purchase what presence stopped purchasing, checking nightly whether the silence has been noticed, keeping accounts as carefully as any auditioner ever kept them. Cold pursuit is still pursuit. If you have gone quiet at someone these past months and called it dignity, look once, gently, at whether the quiet has a scoreboard. Dignity does not check the scoreboard. Which one are you tonight? Which costume is hanging on your particular chair? Maybe several. Most of us rotate through the whole wardrobe in a single hard season, performing in October, shrinking by December, ghosting by spring. Name yours without any verdict attached. The costumes were never character flaws. They were love trying to solve an unsolvable problem with the only tools panic hands out. Different costumes, same engine underneath. Each one is a strategy for earning back a valuation, and each one quietly deepens the cosign, because every audition you give teaches both of you that your worth is something they hold the scores for, and running under all the costumes, there is the fantasy. You know the one. The imagined scene where they finally see it, where something, a crisis, a distance, a chance remark from someone else opens their eyes, and they come to you, actually look at you for the first time in months, and say the words the whole ache has been drafted around. I did not realize. I took you for granted. You were the best thing in the room all along, and I stopped seeing it, and I am sorry. You have played that scene so many times you could direct it, and it is worth understanding what the fantasy actually is, because it is not weakness and it is not delusion. It is the psyche trying to get the account settled by the only court it currently recognizes, theirs. The fantasy is the cosign, dreaming. It believes the verdict can only be overturned by the judge who issued it, so it waits endlessly, rehearsing the appeal. And the sad arithmetic is that even if the scene came true, even if the apology arrived word for word, it would not heal what you think it would heal, because a worth that can be restored by their seeing is still a worth that lives in their eyes, still hostage, just currently well treated. The real repair was never in their mouth. It happens on your side of the glass, on nights like this one, when the account gets settled by the only court that ever had jurisdiction. You do not have to wait for them to realize. You are allowed to realize first. Do you know the strangest thing about all this chasing and auditing? It almost never works, and everyone who has done it knows it almost never works, and we all do it anyway. That is worth understanding rather than mocking, because there is a real reason, and the reason is old. To understand why their regard feels like oxygen, we have to go back before them, before every them, to how a self gets built in the first place. Here is the part that is true of every human being who has ever lived, and knowing it will take some of the shame out of your nights. You did not build your sense of worth alone. Nobody does. A self is built in front of mirrors, and the mirrors are people. Psychologists have a name for it: the looking glass self, the finding that we come to see ourselves largely through how others receive us. It starts before memory. A baby learns it exists by being looked at. A child learns it matters by being delighted in. Watch any small child glance up after every small triumph, find the adult's face, and read there, in that half second, the day's verdict on their own worth. That reflex does not retire when we grow up. It goes quiet, it gets sophisticated, but every one of us, at every age, is still partly assembled out of the light that certain chosen faces reflect back at us. Watch yourself for a single ordinary day, and you will catch the adult versions everywhere. The joke you tell, and the half second your eyes spend collecting the room's reaction. The way a piece of good news is not fully real until you have told someone, and not just anyone, the someone, the appointed one, and the way their flat reception can unreel it on the spot. The outfit reconsidered through a particular person's imagined eyes. The story you shape differently depending on who is listening, without ever deciding to. None of this is vanity. It is the original machinery still running, the glance up of the small child persisting under decades of composure. This is not weakness. This is the species. We are mirror-built creatures, and we were never meant to be otherwise, and anyone who claims they need no reflection at all has simply stopped checking honestly. But here is what it means. When you chose them, whoever tonight is about, you did something bigger than like them. You appointed them. You handed them a mirror's office, made their face one of the places you go to learn what you are. That is what intimacy is, partly the mutual appointing. It is why their attention felt like sunlight and their distraction feels like weather moving in. Nothing irrational has happened to you. You are not too needy, not broken, not pathetic in your hurting. A mirror you appointed has gone dim, and the part of you that was built in front of mirrors is responding exactly as designed. The pain is not the malfunction. The pain is the receipt of how much office you gave them. And for some of you, and you know who you are, the office was bigger than it ever should have been because of where the wiring came from. If love in your first house was conditional, if regard arrived through the report card, the achievement, the being easy, the being good, then somewhere in you lives an old equation: worth equals the warmth currently being received. Children of conditional warmth grow into adults who read every cooling as a grade. For you, this person's fading was never just this person's fading. It reopened the oldest file you have, the one that says warmth is earned and must be re-earned, and the audit you have been running at 2 in the morning is a child's audit, run by the part of you that once believed that if love went quiet, it must be because you had stopped deserving it. Be gentle with that part tonight. It learned its arithmetic in a hard school, and it is precisely the part that tonight's teaching can finally reach. Because here is what that child was never told, and what you tonight are old enough to tell them. The warmth that came and went in that house was never a reading of them either. It was the first weather. The parent whose regard flickered was a person with their own storms, their own thinned margins, their own unaudited houses behind them, and a child standing in that weather concluded what children always conclude, that the sky's moods were about them. It was the first cosign signed before you could write. Every cooling since has been countersigned with that original pen. And this is why tonight matters beyond tonight's person, beyond this year's fading. You are not just declining one verdict. You are, gently, at your own pace, retiring the pen itself, teaching the oldest part of you the sentence it has waited a whole lifetime to hear. The weather was never about you. It was never about you then either. It was never in any house, in any year, about you. Rest here a moment. Notice your breath found its own pace a while ago without applying for anyone's approval. It just breathes. There is a whole lesson in that, and we will come back for it. Now, the other side of the equation, the side the audit never checks. What actually happened in them? Because the audit has only ever investigated one suspect, you. Let us finally widen the investigation. Here is what the fading usually is, and I want you to hold this against your specific person, gently, as we go. People do not run their attention on justice, they run it on state. Their inner weather decides what they can see, and a person whose own life has clouded over goes dim toward everyone downstream of the cloud. The spouse, drowning quietly in work stress, does not decide you matter less. They simply have less self left over at the end of each day, and you are meeting the remnant and reading it as a verdict. The friend in a hard season pulls inward the way injured animals do, and their silence is about their wound, not your worth. Some people dim toward you because you have become associated with a version of themselves they are trying to outrun. Some because your life started shining somewhere theirs did not, and it costs them something to look directly at you now. Envy dims eyes faster than boredom ever did. Some are simply spread thin, poured out, budgeting an attention that used to be abundant. In every one of these, and they cover most cases, the cooling you have been auditing yourself for is a weather report from inside their life. You have been reading their clouds as your reflection. That is the whole error, ancient and universal, and you are in the largest company imaginable. If it helps, walk one day of their side of it, the way we walked yours. They wake with the weight, whatever their particular weight is, the job that is quietly failing, the health worry they have told no one, the parent declining, the money, the marriage, the ghost of their own unlived life, and the weight boards their attention before breakfast like a commuter with a reserved seat. All day it rides them. What you meet at dinner, what you text into at noon, is not them. It is the remnant of them, the thin band of attention the weight has not already spent. And here is the almost funny, almost unbearable part. On their side, the dimming does not feel like a verdict about you either, because on their side, you barely come into it at all. Nobody wakes, and decides to value a good person less. They wake heavy, and the heaviness spends their eyes, and the people nearest get the leftovers, and the steadiest of the near people, the one who never complains, the one who holds, gets the least, precisely because they trust you to hold. Have you ever done it yourself? Be honest. In the dark, it costs nothing here. Has there been a season when your own weather thinned you and someone gentle in your life got your remnant for months? And it meant nothing, nothing at all about what they were worth to you. You know there has. You have been on both sides of this glass, which means you already know, from the inside, that the dimming is not a measurement. You just forgot that knowledge the moment you were the one standing in the cold. And there is one more cause, the commonest and the least personal of all, familiarity itself. Human attention is built to notice change and go blind to constants. It is why you no longer hear the clock in your own hallway, why you cannot smell your own home the way visitors can. The steady thing disappears from perception, not from mattering, from perception. And in every long love, every old friendship, every family, the most reliable people undergo exactly this fate. They become the hallway clock, still keeping time, still holding everything together, unheard. If you are the constant in someone's life, the one who is always there, always steady, always on, then some of their dimming is nothing but this, the terrible tax on reliability, the way the always lit lamp is the one nobody looks at. It is unjust. It is also, and hold this close, the opposite of what the audit concluded. They do not overlook you because you became less. Often they overlook you because you became foundational, load-bearing, assumed the way the floor is assumed. Nobody thanks the floor. Everybody falls without it. And if you are one of the constants, know your own company, because it is a quiet fellowship, and it is everywhere. The mother whose invisible logistics hold 4 lives together, noticed chiefly on the day something slips. The friend who is everyone's first call in a crisis, and nobody's first thought on an ordinary Tuesday. The steady colleague the whole department leans on and builds no statues to. The husband or wife who kept showing up, kettle on, lights on, year after year, while showier loves elsewhere burned bright and burned out. The world runs on its constants and complements its comets. That is simply the going rate, and every reliable person alive pays it. But understand what the constants know, the ones who have made peace with it. Being taken for granted is, read correctly, a strange, dark honor. Nobody takes the unreliable for granted. Nobody assumes the flaky friend, the fair weather love. To be assumed is to have been proven so many times, so thoroughly, that doubt itself retired. Their certainty of you, the very certainty that stopped noticing you, was built out of years of your evidence. It is a monument, badly labeled. Tonight, you can read the label properly for once. They do not check on the sun either. It is not because the sun stopped mattering. And while we are being honest about instruments, let the honesty run both directions, because there is a freedom in it that the hurt cannot see yet. Their regard, back when it was warm, back in the golden stretch you keep comparing the present against, was weather then too. Hear this gently, it takes nothing away from what was real. The delight they took in you at the beginning, the way their whole face opened, that was partly you, truly, and partly their season, their newness, hunger, their own life's weather, happening to be clear. You did not earn the warm front any more than you caused the cold one. Attention was never a fair court in either direction, it was always sky. And feel what that does to the story if you let it in. If their peak regard was not a measurement, then you never actually held the rank you think you have lost. You held something better the whole time, the same thing you hold tonight, a worth that predates the warm front and survives the cold one, untouched by both. The fall you have been grieving was a fall between two readings of a broken instrument. The thing itself never moved. You were never promoted, and so you were never demoted. You were only ever loved by skies, doing what skies do, while you stood underneath, constant, mistaking every change in the light for a change in what you are. And hold one more distinction, because it dissolves a fear that has been sitting under everything. Attention and love are not the same system. They feel like one thing from the receiving end, which is why the fading attention read as fading love, and why the conclusion cuts so deep. But they run on different machinery entirely. Attention is a spotlight, narrow, expensive, hostage to weather, capable of pointing at exactly one thing at a time. Love is more like the ground of a place, wide, slow, structural, and largely invisible precisely because it is everywhere. A person can love you with their whole architecture, while their spotlight is pinned for a season to a crisis, a fear, a failing thing they are trying to save. Ask anyone who has been drowned in work while their family waited. Did the love lessen? They will look at you almost baffled. The love was the reason for the drowning half the time. This is not a promise that love always remains where attention has left. Sometimes both go, and when both go, you will know by other signs and other seasons. It is only the correction of the false equation. You measured love with an attention gauge. The gauge read low. That was never a reading of the ground. Some of the most loved people in the world are, this very night, going unattended, the way the most solid ground on earth goes unphotographed. Spotlights swing, ground remains. You may be far more loved tonight than the spotlight has let you feel. So look at what the investigation actually returns. Their weather, their seasons, their wounds, their thinning margins, their blindness to constants. Somewhere far down the list, sometimes a genuine change in the relationship worth talking about, and almost nowhere, almost never, the thing the audit assumed, a drop in what you are worth. The instrument you have been reading was never measuring you, it was measuring them all along. Their capacity, their weather, their light. You just happened to be standing where the readout landed. And if you want proof that regard was always a faulty instrument, you do not have to take it from philosophy. Take it from history, which is one long museum of the mismeasured. The painter who sold one canvas in his lifetime, one to his brother's circle, and whose colours now stop crowds in every great gallery on earth. The writers rejected by every house in town whose books outlived the houses. The scientists laughed out of their own academies for findings that are now in children's textbooks. The mothers and menders and quiet stewards in every family's past, whose worth was understood by nobody until the funeral, when the whole town finally arrived with its too late arithmetic. Run the question honestly. Were any of those people worth less during the years the regard failed to arrive? Was the paint less alive in the canvas because no one was buying? You know the answer with total certainty when it is about them. The gallery's opinion and the painting's worth are two different facts, and when they disagree, and they constantly disagree, it is the gallery that is wrong. All tonight asks is that you extend to yourself the verdict you would hand any of them without hesitation. Being under-recognized has never once, in the entire history of the species, been evidence of being worth less. It is barely even rare. It is close to the ordinary fate of genuinely valuable things. Which brings us to the old teachers, because everything we have uncovered tonight, they knew. 2,000 years ago, in rooms lit by oil lamps, the Stoics worked this exact problem, the pain of other people's changed regard, more carefully than perhaps anyone since. And the first thing they did was draw a line. It is the most famous line in their whole philosophy. Epictetus, who had been a slave, who knew everything there is to know about being valued and devalued by others, opened his entire handbook with it. Some things are up to us, he said, and some things are not. Up to us, our judgments, our responses, our values, what we honor, what we do. Not up to us, essentially everything else. And he was explicit about the list: our reputations, our standing, how others see us, what they think of us, whether they prize us. Another person's regard he put permanently, structurally in the second column, not because it does not matter. The Stoics never said it does not hurt, because it is not yours. It happens in their mind, which you do not govern, driven by their weather, which you cannot steer. Treating it as yours to earn, protect, and restore is, in the Stoic reckoning, the root mistake, like farming a field that belongs to someone else and despairing at their harvest. And remember who is talking, because it changes the weight of the words. Epictetus was not a comfortable professor theorizing about adversity. He was born enslaved, owned, in the most literal sense, a person whose entire outward standing lay in another man's hands. His body, his time, his prospects, his name itself, all of it sat in the "not up to us" column. And he knew it the way you know cold. And it was there, from inside that condition, that he worked out the discovery that made him free before the law ever did. There was a country no owner could enter. His judgments, his assent, what he honored and what he refused to honor. The one holding of his that could not be transferred, devalued, or repossessed was his own estimate of things, including his estimate of himself. When a man like that tells you that other people's regard is not yours to govern, he is not offering a coping tip. He is reporting from the far end of the experiment, from a life where the lesson was not optional. If his sovereignty survived actual chains, yours can survive a cooled friendship, a distracted marriage, a boss's wandering favor. The inner country is the same country. It has never once been successfully invaded. It can only ever be surrendered, and the surrender is always voluntary, and it is the voluntary part that tonight is quietly revoking. The Stoics even had a practice for this, and it fits in a bed. At the end of the day, lying exactly where you are lying, they would sort the day's pains into the 2 columns. Tonight, sort just 1. They're cooling. Watch where its pieces actually fall. Their attention, their weather, their season, their capacity. Column 2, not yours, never was. Your response, your dignity, your kindness, your estimate of yourself. Column 1, yours entirely, tonight and always. The sorting takes 10 seconds once you know it, and the relief it brings is oddly physical, because a burden carried in the wrong column weighs double. Everything in column 2 you have been trying to carry was never liftable from where you stand. Everything in column 1 is lighter than you think. Set the second column down. It belongs to the weather. Keep the first. It was always the only luggage that was really yours. And if the sorting ever feels too abstract, too philosophical for a tired heart, there is a homelier version of the same move, and it works just as well. Ask yourself what you would say if this were not your story. If your dearest friend came to you with this exact situation, every detail transposed, the cooling spouse or the drifting friend, the shortened replies, the months of forensic nights, the growing certainty that they themselves must be the cause, what would you actually say to them? You know what you would say. You would take their hands and you would be almost angry on their behalf. You would say, "This is not about your worth. Look at everything you are. Look at everything you carry. Anyone who cannot see you right now has something in their own eyes." You would say it with total conviction, and you would be right. And you would not for 1 second entertain the theory that your friend had become less valuable because someone got distracted. You are a wise counselor for everyone but yourself. Everyone is. So, borrow the counsel. Tonight, in the dark, let yourself be your own dear friend for once. The case heard by someone who loves the defendant. The advice was never wrong. It was only ever pointed outward. Turn it around and notice that it is just as true facing this direction. It was always just as true facing this direction. And Marcus Aurelius, the emperor who wrote to himself at night, in private, never meaning to be read, left behind a sentence that could have been written for your 2 in the morning. If you are distressed by anything external, he wrote, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. Hear that again, slowly, because it is the hinge of the whole night. The pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. Their cooling is the thing itself, and it is real, and tonight does not deny it. But the meaning you assigned it, that their dimming meant your dimming, that the withdrawal of their regard was a finding about your worth, that was an estimate, yours, added by you in the dark without ever noticing there had been a choice. And what you estimated, he says, you can revoke, not the loss, the verdict. The cosign was ink from your own pen, and it has always been your pen. He wrote something else in those same private pages, and it lands harder now than ever. It never ceases to amaze me, he told himself. We all love ourselves more than other people, yet we care more about their opinion of us than our own. Sit with the strangeness of that, because it is your strangeness, and mine and everyone's. You would not let this person do your taxes without checking. You would not take their word over your own eyes about the color of this room. Yet, on the single most important question in your life, the question of what you are worth, you have been treating their fluctuating, weather-driven, distraction-riddled attention as the authoritative source, and your own decades of first-hand evidence as a rumor. The Stoics found that hilarious and tragic in equal measure. Their whole practice, in a sentence, was learning to give your own considered estimate of yourself at least the standing you automatically grant to any stranger's passing mood. There is an old story teachers in the East used to tell that makes the same point from the other side, and it has survived because it keeps being needed. A teacher known for his calm was visited by a man determined to break it. The man insulted him at length in front of everyone, his teaching, his person, his life. The teacher listened the way you would listen to rain. When the man finally ran out, the teacher asked him one question. If you offer someone a gift and they decline to accept it, to whom does the gift belong? The man, thrown, answered, well, to the one who offered it, I suppose. The teacher nodded. Just so, he said, and I decline to accept what you have offered me today. Hear what that story is actually about, because it is not really about insults. Every opinion of you that anyone forms, warm or cold, spoken or silent, is an offering. It does not become yours. It does not enter the house of you until you accept it. You have spent this whole cooling season accepting. Every shortened reply, every distracted glance, you have carried inside and signed for, like packages addressed to someone else. The teacher's move, the Stoic move, the move this whole night has been walking toward, is smaller and quieter than fighting back. It is declining to sign. Their diminished estimate of you can sit on their side of the table, in their weather, where it was manufactured. It was never yours to carry, and tonight, for the first time in a long time, you can leave it where it lies. The later Stoics had an image for the place you decline from, and it is worth carrying to sleep. The inner citadel, they called it. Every person, they taught, has one, a fortress at the center where the true holdings are kept. Your judgments, your character, your estimate of yourself, and the citadel has one strange property that no fortress of stone ever had. It cannot be taken, not by siege, not by weather, not by any force outside its walls. Armies of circumstance can burn everything in the outer country, the reputation, the standing, the warmth of particular people, and the citadel stands untouched, because nothing outside it has hands that reach inside. It has only one vulnerability in all the world. The keeper can open the gates. That is the entire threat model of a human being's worth. One gate, one keeper, you. Every cooling season of your life, the losses out in the countryside were real, and none of them ever entered the citadel on their own. The nights you felt worthless were nights the gates stood open, the weather invited in and seated at the treasury by the keeper. Out of an old habit, the keeper was never taught to question. Tonight, you were taught. The gates are yours. They have always been yours. And a keeper who knows that can watch any weather cross the countryside, grieving what it takes, and keep the treasury dry. Let your shoulders come down a little further while that settles. You have been signing for deliveries all year. The signing hand can rest now. But before the practical part, one thing must be said plainly, because reframes can become their own kind of dishonesty if they skip it. You are allowed to grieve. Under all the mechanics, something real has been lost, and no philosophy worth falling asleep to will pretend otherwise. The particular warmth of being prized by that particular person, the at-homeness of it, that was one of the good things, and its fading is a genuine loss, worthy of genuine grief. The Stoics themselves wept, whatever the caricature says. The practice was never to feel nothing. It was to grieve the loss without accepting the verdict. And those are different acts, and unbraiding them is the finest emotional work you will ever do. Grief says, something warm has gone, and I miss it. The verdict says, it went because I am less. Grief is clean pain. It moves through, it softens with seasons, it can even coexist with love. The verdict is dirty pain. It corrodes, it compounds, it never finishes, because it keeps a wound open that grief alone would have closed. Tonight, you do not have to stop missing what cooled. Miss it fully. You only have to stop translating the missing into a measurement. Lose the warmth, if it must be lost. Decline, absolutely decline, to lose yourself in the same transaction. Hear the two voices side by side once, so you can tell them apart forever, because they arrive braided, and they must be received separately. Grief, at this hour, sounds like this. I miss how we used to talk. I miss being looked at like that. Something warm has gone out of my days, and I am sad, and the sadness is the size of what the warmth was worth. That voice needs no correcting. Let it speak. Let it even cry. It is telling the truth, and truths that are allowed to finish speaking eventually rest. But listen to the other voice, the one that rides in behind it wearing grief's coat. They pulled away because I am not interesting anymore. This always happens to me. If I were really worth staying warm for, they would have stayed warm. Do you hear the difference in the grammar? Grief speaks about the loss. The verdict speaks about your worth. Grief says, gone. The verdict says, because of you. And here is the nightly practice, small enough to do half asleep. When the braid arrives, and it will, you receive the first voice like a friend, and you ask the second voice for its evidence. Actual evidence, the kind that would stand up anywhere outside a wounded head at 2 in the morning. It never has any. It has feelings presented as findings, whether presented as verdict, and the moment you request the file, it goes quiet, because there is no file. There was never a file. Grieve with the griever. Adjourn the judge. Same night, both. That is the whole art. So let us talk practically, gently, about what refusing the cosign looks like in an actual life, in actual rooms, with the actual person. The first practice is the end of the audition, not the end of effort, not coldness. Hear the difference. It is the specific end of performing for restored regard, the extra shine, the tribute, the shrinking, the forensic silence. And the reason is not pride. The reason is what auditioning does to both of you. Every performance you give for their warmth teaches your own deep mind that warmth is winnable and worth is scored. It waters the oldest, worst equation you carry. And it teaches them quietly that your presence is a service that intensifies when they withhold, which is a lesson nobody should be taught about anyone. So you stop, not dramatically. There is no announcement. The audition simply closes. You say the true thing instead of the impressive thing. You give what you genuinely have instead of what might purchase attention. You let silences be silences instead of auditions. At first, this feels like giving up on them. It is the opposite. It is the first honest data the relationship has received in a long time, because for the first time in months, what they are meeting is you, unperformed, and whatever responds to that is finally responding to something real. And notice what the audition was costing you, that you stopped counting. Not just the effort, the information. A person mid-audition cannot tell what is actually left in a relationship, because everything they receive is contaminated by the performance. Was that warmth for me, or for the show I put on? Did they enjoy tonight, or did I make tonight impossible not to enjoy? You have been carrying that question for months without naming it. The terrible blur of never knowing whether what came back to you. Closing the audition ends the blur. Whatever warmth arrives after it arrives for the unperformed article and lands differently, deeper, because it can finally be trusted. And whatever does not arrive was never going to survive the end of the show anyway, and you have stopped paying nightly to postpone finding out. Either way, the books of the relationship go honest, and you can live on honest books. It was the cooked ones that were starving you. The second practice is letting the relationship find its true size. This is the one that asks the most courage, and it is where the Stoic line does its daily work. You have been holding the relationship at its old size by sheer effort, single-handedly, like someone holding a door against the wind, and the exhaustion in your chest is exactly the exhaustion of that holding. Letting go of the door is not slamming it. It is simply, finally, letting the relationship be what it currently is, rather than what your labor was propping it up to be. You match their actual current weather with your peace intact. If they reach, you are warmly there, nothing punished, no score kept. If they do not, you no longer fill the space with performance. And then you watch what the true size turns out to be, from a settled place rather than a starving one. Sometimes, more often than the hurt can believe tonight, the pressure coming off changes the weather itself. The chase was crowding them, and the person returns at their own pace to a door nobody is pushing on. Sometimes the true size is smaller than the old one, and that is a real grief, and you will bear it the clean way. And sometimes, rarely but truly, the honest size reveals a room you should no longer live in, and you will know it not by one cold week, but by years of evidence, and you are allowed to leave rooms. The Stoics were clear on that too. What you are not allowed to do, what you are never obliged to do, is stand in any room and let its temperature tell you what you are worth. And somewhere between the auditioning and the letting be, there is a door you are allowed to walk through once, and it deserves its own naming because the cooling seasons of close relationships sometimes end through it. The honest conversation, not the prosecution. Hear the difference before you ever open your mouth. The prosecution says, "You have changed. You never ask about me anymore. Do you know how that feels? Here is my evidence, dated and itemized, and it corners a person. And cornered people defend, and defenses deepen distances." The honest naming is a different animal entirely. It is one sentence, maybe two, spoken without a verdict attached. I have missed you lately, even when we are in the same room. Or, we feel far away to me these days, and I wanted to say it out loud instead of carrying it alone. That is all. No case file, no demand for a specific repair by a specific date. You are not asking them to confess. You are letting the invisible thing become visible. Because remember, half the cruelty of this wound is that it happens in plain sight and goes unnamed, and sometimes, more often than the braced heart expects, the naming alone changes the weather. Some people genuinely do not know they have dimmed. The stress-drowned spouse, the spread-thin friend, they look up at a sentence like that with real surprise, and something shifts that no amount of silent auditioning would ever have shifted. And some people go defensive or vague, or the conversation lands nowhere, and that too is information gathered honestly at the cost of one brave sentence instead of another year of forensics. You say it once. You do not repeat it monthly. That becomes prosecution on an installment plan. Once, plainly, kindly, and then you return to the practices and you let what is real respond, and you let what responds be what it is. And because tonight has argued so hard against the audit, one honest balance must be struck, so the teaching stays true instead of merely comforting. Sometimes, inside a cooling, there is information. Not about your worth, never about your worth. Hold the line on that, absolutely. But about the relationship, sometimes, yes. Perhaps the connection genuinely needs tending that both of you stopped doing. Perhaps a habit of yours genuinely wears on them as theirs wear on you, because everyone is sandpaper somewhere. How do you tell the difference between signal and weather, between something worth hearing and something worth declining? 2 tests, and they are simple. First, the pattern test. Weather is one gauge dropping. Signal repeats across mirrors. If several people you trust in different rooms of your life gently reflect the same specific thing, that is probably information, receivable, workable, and still not a worth verdict, just data about a behavior, the way a gardener receives news about watering. If it is one person's gauge while every other mirror holds steady, it is almost certainly their weather, and you can stop mining it for curriculum. Second, the specificity test. Real information is specific and actionable. You interrupt when you are excited. You have been hard to pin down lately. Those name a behavior a person could adjust by Thursday. The verdicts are global and vague. Something about you, not enough, too much, nothing a person could act on because they were never instructions, only weather with grammar. Receive the specific, decline the global. That single sorting rule would have saved you most of this year's nights, and it is yours now for all the years ahead. The third practice is tending the mirrors that still work, and this one, do not skip. The wounded always want to skip it. The looking glass need in you is real and permanent. We established that. You cannot cancel it. You can only place it wisely. So place it. Somewhere in your life right now are faces that still light when you arrive. The friend whose questions never stopped. The child, the sister, the old companion, the colleague who saves things all week to tell you. They have been reflecting you accurately this whole time, and you have barely glanced at them because the starving eye stares at the one dark window and goes blind to every lit one. That is the cruel optics of this wound. One dimmed mirror can black out a wall of bright ones simply by being the one you appointed most. So reappoint. Deliberately, this week, walk toward the lit windows. Sit with the people whose warmth costs you nothing. And this time, notice it, receive it, let it count. You are not settling for second best. You are correcting an attention error, the exact same error they made with you, the constant blindness, the taking for granted of the reliable light. Do not do to your bright mirrors what was done to you, and when you sit with them, practice the part you are worst at, which is receiving. The chronically undervalued develop a strange deafness. Have you noticed it in yourself? Warmth arrives from the lit windows and bounces off. The friend says something genuinely admiring, and you volley it away with a joke before it can land. The compliment gets explained down. Oh, anyone would have. It was nothing. Somewhere in the cooling season, you concluded that warmth from the easy sources is cheap currency, and only warmth from the withholding source counts, which is exactly backward. And you can hear how backward the moment it is said aloud. It is the starving person declining bread because it is not from the one bakery that closed. So this week, once, when something kind is said to you by someone who means it, run the new practice. Do not deflect. Do not repay it instantly like a debt. Just let 3 full seconds pass with the kindness sitting there, received, and say thank you and mean it, and notice how physically difficult that is, and do it anyway. Reflected light only rebuilds a person if it is allowed to land. You have been standing in sunlight deflecting, asking why you are cold. And there is a warning worth folding in here tenderly, because wounds like yours fork in one of 2 directions and you get to choose the fork. Some people come out of a cooling season armored. They conclude that appointing mirrors was the mistake, and they stop. They go self-sealed, need nothing, admit no one, and they call it strength, and it is actually just the cosign wearing armor, the belief that their worth cannot survive another appointment. And some people come out of it open but anchored, still generous with office, still wide-doored, but never again confusing any single mirror with the Supreme Court. That second fork is the whole aim of tonight. Do not let this person's weather teach you to stop appointing. Let it teach you where the appointment's limits are. The world does not need another sealed door. It needs people like you, warm and unhostage, which is the rarest combination there is and the only one worth building. And the 4th practice is the deepest one, the one all the others rest on. Become the first mirror. Not the only one, that was never the assignment. The self-sufficiency fantasy is just another performance. The first one. It means the day's initial and final verdict on you gets rendered by you, and outside estimates get weighed the way a sane court weighs testimony, considered, sometimes useful, never sovereign. In practice, it is almost embarrassingly small. It is catching yourself mid-audit at 2 in the morning and asking the auditor one question. Whose estimate is this, mine, or whether I have been treating as mine? It is ending the day, some days, by naming one thing you did that you yourself, by your own lights, honor. Not one thing that was applauded, one thing you honor. The patience nobody saw, the honest sentence that cost you, the small kept promise. That sounds like nothing. Done for a season, it quietly rebuilds the authority structure of your entire inner life, because the need to be seen was never the problem. The problem was only ever that you had made their seeing the Supreme Court. Keep the need, move the court. And here a distinction wants making, the finest one of the night, so take it slowly. Your self-image is mirror-built. We established that, and it is true, and it cannot be otherwise. But your worth is not your self-image. The image is the portrait. The worth is the person the portrait is of. Portraits get painted well and badly, in good light, and bad by attentive artists and distracted ones, and every mirror in your life is painting one, and the paintings vary, and they should. They are paintings. But no portrait, however badly lit, has ever subtracted anything from its subject. When their regard dimmed, a portrait changed. That is all that changed. The person the portraits are of, the one who was here before the first mirror ever hung, the one who exists in full, whether observed or not, that one has been sitting here all along at full value, entirely unedited by the gallery's opinions. You have been mourning at the wrong easel. The painting faded. You did not. Nothing that fades in another person's gallery was ever the thing itself. Hear that again, in your own words, whatever words your tired mind reaches for, because this is the one distinction that, once it takes root, makes every future cooling, survivable. Portraits change, subjects remain, and notice, before we leave the practices, that you have survived this before. This is not your first dimming. Reach back, and you will find the others, and finding them is medicine. Somewhere in a schoolyard, decades ago, there was a person whose approval was your whole weather, whose lunch table was the supreme court of the known world, and who cooled on you or never warmed, and it was, at the time, a catastrophe of the first order. Can you even remember their full name tonight? There was the early love whose fading you were certain you would not survive, and here you are, having survived it so completely that what you remember now is mostly the music of that year. There was a boss, maybe, a mentor, a friend group, each one holding, for its season, the master gauge of what you were worth, each gauge long since unplugged, carted off, forgotten. Every one of those verdicts felt eternal from inside it. Not one of them survived. And notice what did. You did. The subject outlasted every portrait, every gallery, every court. The person whose regard is breaking your heart tonight is real, and the grief is real, but they are also, forgive the coldness of the long view, one more in a lifelong series of weather systems, and you are the landscape, and the landscape has outlasted every sky it ever stood under. On the hard nights, borrow the eyes of the you who exists years from now, the one who will reach back for tonight's storm and find mostly its music. That person is not guessing about whether you survive this. They are your proof. Are you still with me? Or drifting? Either is exactly right. If you are drifting, go. Everything important is planted and it grows in the dark. And if you are still here, notice something tender before the last stretch. All night you have been doing for yourself the precise thing that person stopped doing. You have been paying attention to you. Sustained, curious, unhurried attention. The exact commodity whose withdrawal broke your heart, and it turns out you had a supply of it all along. That is not a consolation prize. That is the discovery the whole wound was pointing at. Two more things belong in your keeping before the wind down, and the first is about the future, the one the hurt cannot imagine yet. Sometimes warmth comes back. The season passes in them, the weight lifts, the weather clears, and one day the questions return. The eyes come back. The old temperature climbs the stairs looking for you. And returning warmth is its own small test, because the wounded heart wants to do one of two wrong things with it. It wants to punish, to meet the returning person with a ledger of the cold months, which only teaches them that coming back is unsafe. Or it wants to collapse into relief, to instantly reinstate them as the Supreme Court and hand back every gavel. All is forgiven, all is forgotten, nothing was learned. The anchored move is neither. You receive returning warmth the way you have learned to receive all warmth, gladly, openly, let it land, let it count, and you keep the court where you moved it. They can be beloved again, they can be prized again. What they can never quite be again is sovereign, and here is the secret the recovered will tell you. The relationship is better for it. Love between two people who are not holding each other's worth hostage is lighter, kinder, freer on both sides. If they come back, let them come back to that. And the second thing is a charge to carry forward, because you now know how this wound works from inside, which makes you responsible in a small, particular way. Somewhere in your life, you are the dimming one. It is almost certain. Somewhere, there is a person whose hallway clock you have become, a steady one, a constant, whose reliability has made them perceptually invisible to you, exactly as yours made you invisible to someone else. The parent whose calls you return late, the old friend who always reaches first, the partner, even, in the rooms of the relationship you have stopped visiting. You know the mechanics now. Weather, thinning margins, constant blindness, none of it verdicts, all of it real. So spend a little of what tonight gave you. This week, one deliberate act of re-seeing. Ask the steady person a question about themselves and stay for the whole answer. Say the valuing out loud for once. The sentence that never gets said to constants. I notice what you hold up. I would feel it if your light went out. Watch what it does to them. You know exactly what it does to them. You have been on the receiving end of its absence all year. The wound taught you the one thing worth teaching, what regard is actually worth to the person receiving it. Be the one who pays it forward while paying it, at last, inward too. And now the night's last turn, the one that belongs to this hour, because there is one place left where the cosine still operates, and it is this bed. Somewhere in the cooling season, without noticing, you started treating your own company the way they treated it. Have you felt that? The evenings alone that used to be full and became evidence. The way you stopped cooking real meals for just yourself, stopped making the bed nicely for just yourself, stopped in 100 small ways hosting yourself with any care, because some part of you concluded that an audience of only you was an audience of nobody. That is the cosine at its deepest level, the withdrawal of your own regard from your own life. And tonight is where it reverses in the smallest possible way, because look at what tonight already is. You brought yourself here. You laid this tired person down in the dark and gave them warmth and quiet and a voice speaking gently and 2 hours of undivided care. Whether you meant it this way or not, tonight you have been hosting yourself, honoring the guest, and the guest can feel it. That is what this loosening in your chest is. Let that be the practice hiding inside every night from now on. Sleep, approached this way, is not the day giving up on itself. It is the nightly act of valuing the one person whose regard was always in your column. You, choosing you, first, at the end of every day. no audition required. And there is one more constant in the room tonight, one relationship in which you have never once been devalued, and it deserves a moment of notice before you sleep, because it has been holding you through this entire cooling season without a word of thanks. Your body. Think about what it has done while your heart was doing forensics. It kept your temperature through every one of those cold-shouldered evenings. It healed the small hurts without being asked. It digested the meals you barely tasted on the bad days. It carried you up the stairs to this bed tonight, the way it has every night of the grief, uncomplaining, unimpressed by anyone's opinion of you, including your own. Your body has never read a single message thread. It does not know who has been warm to you and who has cooled. It values you the only way bodies know how, totally, structurally, with everything it has, every second, on the sole grounds that you are the one it belongs to. Whatever the appointed mirrors did this year, this oldest companion never once turned its face away. Tonight, going to sleep is being handed back to it, the one caretaker whose regard has no weather at all. Let it take you. It has been waiting all day, all season, all along. So let the day's court adjourn now, completely. Your jaw first, where the pleading lives, all the sentences you have composed for them and never sent. Let it soften. The sentences can dissolve. They were never going to be the thing that changed the weather anyway. The space between your eyebrows, where the audit sits, smooth it. The case is not continued to tomorrow. The case is dismissed. You dismissed it. You had the authority all along. Your shoulders, which have been braced for a verdict for months, down. No verdict is coming tonight. No verdict was ever coming. There was never a court. There was only weather, and weather passes, and you remain. And your hands, let them open. They have been holding a door, holding a phone, holding a case file, holding on. Nothing needs holding now. The night holds you, the bed holds you, and underneath everything, steady as it has been since before you met anyone at all, your own life holds you. And picture, just tomorrow first, one ordinary day with the court adjourned, because the far change begins as a near one. The morning starts with you, not the phone, not as discipline, as precedence, the first regard of the day rendered by the first mirror, before any gauge out there gets a vote. Somewhere in the morning, you catch the old reflex mid-reach, the check, the scan of their weather, and you notice it, and maybe you even do it anyway, but you do it the way you glance at sky now. Information, not verdict. At the table or the meeting or the kitchen, you say your thing and it lands however it lands. And here is the new part. Its worth does not wait for the landing. The idea was good before the room voted. The joke was yours before anyone laughed. In the afternoon, warmth arrives from one of the lit windows, small, ordinary, a kind word, a good question, and you run the receiving practice. 3 seconds, landed, counted, and in the evening, you host yourself, the real meal, the chair you like. The small orders of your own house kept, not for company, for the resident. None of it is dramatic. All of it is sovereignty, practiced at the only scale sovereignty is ever really practiced at, the scale of one unwatched day. String enough of those days together, and you arrive, without ever noticing the border, in the far country. And let me show you the far side of this, a year or so of quiet practice from now, so you will recognize yourself when you arrive. The person you become is not hardened. That was never the destination. You still love openly, still appoint mirrors, still feel a cooling when one comes because you stayed warm-blooded, and warm-blooded creatures feel weather. What changes is what the weather can reach. A distracted reply lands and you notice it, and there is a small, honest pang, and then this is the difference. Nothing further happens. No audit convenes. No audition gets scheduled. The pang is filed under weather, and the evening continues to belong to you. People sense the change without being able to name it. You become, gradually, one of those people others describe as comfortable in themselves, restful to be around, and the description is truer than they know, because what they are sensing is the absence of the hidden courtroom, the absence of the performance, a person whose worth is not currently being litigated anywhere on the premises. And here is the last irony, gentle as everything tonight. That settled person tends to be valued more, not less. Warmth follows the unhostaged the way it flees the grasping, not because they chased it better, but because they finally stopped. And stillness, it turns out, is what regard always wanted to land on. You will not do any of it for that reason, but it will happen anyway, somewhere in the background of a life that no longer checks. And before the last gathering, one more handover, the tenderest one, because there is a person you have been holding all night, all season, and you cannot hold them and sleep at the same time. Them. Even now, understood, reframed, forgiven their weather, they are probably still in your arms somewhere, the way the beloved and difficult always are at this hour. So do with them what the night watch does at the end of a shift. You do not throw the watch away. You hand it over. Let the night hold them for a while, their weather, their seasons, their side of the glass, all of it transferred till morning at the earliest. They will keep. People keep remarkably well unheld. That is one of the night's oldest secrets. They simply go on existing out there, in their own beds, in their own weather, without any supervision from your aching chest. And you, unburdened of the holding, get to do the thing the holding has been preventing all these months. Rest with both arms free. If you wake in the small hours and find you have picked them up again, no verdict. It is an old reflex. Just hand them back to the night as many times as it takes. The night does not tire of receiving them. It has held heavier and kept till morning. And so we come back at the end to the person whose regard cooled, and to you lying here, and look how differently the whole scene sits now. Gather the night's small kit around you one last time, loosely, like blankets. The weather, which was always theirs, always real, never a reading of you. The mirrors, which paint portraits, and the subject, who outlasts every portrait. The two columns, and the relief of carrying only your own. The gift declined, still sitting on the offerer's side of the table. The clean grief and the dirty verdict, unbraided at last. The lamp, the constant, the hallway clock, load-bearing and unseen, and no less what it is. You do not need to keep them all. One of them will stay on its own, the one you needed, and it will surface some ordinary afternoon in the middle of some future cooling, exactly when it is useful, the way night teachings do. Their fading was weather, real weather, out of your hands, made mostly of their own seasons, their thinning margins, their blindness to the steady light you are. It was never a measurement. There was no measurement. The only measuring device that ever mattered was the one you hold, the estimate, the pen, and the pen is back in your hand tonight, where it always was. The grief can stay as long as it needs. It is clean. It is love's residue. It does you honor. But the verdict is leaving. You are unsigning. And the person who remains here in this bed, unmeasured, unaudited, off trial, is the same person who was here before the cooling and will be hereafter, worth exactly what they were always worth, which was never once up for review. And ask yourself one last time the night's own questions, and let the answers be short, because they are. Whose weather was it? Theirs. Whose worth changed? Nobody's. Who wrote the verdict you have been carrying? Not you. Who signed it? You. Who can unsign it? Only you. When? Any moment. Which moment? This one, if you like. It can genuinely be this one. So tonight, there is nothing left to earn. Regard earned nightly was never rest, and you are done working that shift. There is nothing left to prove. Proof was the audition's currency, and the theatre is dark. There is no jury out there deliberating on you. There never was a jury. There was a tired person you loved standing in their own weather, and a story you told about what their weather meant. And the story is over now. It ended tonight, somewhere around the two columns. There is no one to win back before morning. What returns will return to a person at peace, and what does not was already gone. And neither one gets a vote on what you are. There is no audit to finish. The books were cooked from the start. The auditor was reading their weather and billing it to you, and you have closed the account. And there is nothing missing in you. Hear that one all the way in. The inventory came back complete. It was always going to come back complete. Nothing they stopped seeing stopped existing. The lamp does not go out when the room stops looking at it. You were never too much, and you were never not enough. You were the constant, and constants get taken for granted. That is the tax on being dependable, and it is a tax on your goodness, not a bill for your failings. The ones who still see you have been seeing you all along. Let them count from now on. And the one in this bed, the first mirror, the oldest witness, the only person who has been present for every hour of your life and stayed, That one is valuing you right now, tonight, by the oldest means there is: rest, care, the benefit of the doubt at last. If you would like to leave something here before you sleep, leave a single word in the comments. The word whole. Nothing else. A small vow from one unsigning soul among many that whatever anyone's weather does, you are done mistaking it for a measurement, done carrying verdicts you never wrote. And it stays here for the next person who arrives at this hour, mid-audit, certain the cooling was their fault, so they can see how many people set that same weight down and slept. And if these slow nights are becoming a place you return to, you can subscribe and be here for the next one. Quietly, no fanfare. The lamp stays lit either way. But all of that belongs to tomorrow, and tomorrow can look after itself. For now there is only this room, which asks nothing of you, this dark, which has no opinion of you, and this breath, going out and coming back, valued by your whole body every single time. The court is empty. The auditor has gone home. The weather outside is only weather, and somewhere beneath all of it, the constant, the lamp, the one who remains, is being carried now gently toward morning by a night that does not grade its guests. Rest now, whole one. You were never on trial. Sleep well.